At this point, so far this year, we really haven't had a whole lot of insects in our cotton. It just hasn't been real high insect pressure up to this point, except for till about the last couple of weeks when the populations really started to pick up a little bit. We've got a lot of trials triggering right now. It's time to spray plant bugs, and our worm flight has picked up, so it's here now. But as far as showing you talking about anything that we've got on the station right now, I can just tell you what we're doing because we don't have any data on it yet, because nothing's really giving us any data at this point. What I can do is show you some data from last year that involves the same kind of stuff that we're looking at this year, and it's just to give you an idea of what we're looking at, what it involves, you know, what all that will entail. And I've got a few slides, and this is not to get, I'm not going to get real deep into these. I'm just going to show you the differences. And this is pretty much just an efficacy trial, and this is just the yield off of one of Gus's trials, Dr. Lorenz, who he conducts most of his LEP research up at Pine Bluff. And if any of you know Gus and know his location at Pine Bluff, then you know that's a pretty high pressure location. That's abnormally high compared to anywhere else that you're going to look at cotton, especially looking at worms in cotton. It's just a high LEP pressure place. So he gets a lot of different, he gets a lot of different looks, and he gets to look at a lot of different situations that we get to look at in other places. And one of the trials, and like I say, this is more of just an efficacy trial, but this is looking at foliar insecticide Prevathon against Wide Strike and Bollgard 2, and a couple of other foliar insecticides. But really, the only thing I wanted to point out about this, is your non-BT down here yielding, you know, around 160 pounds of lint per acre. That kind of gives you a good idea of how much LEP pressure he got in that location. The worms took it down to around 160 pounds of lint per acre. You spray that same Delta Pine 174 variety with 2 shots of Prevathon, you know, that takes you up, that increases your yield over 600 pounds per acre. That's the same variety hit twice with 2 timely applications of a good foliar insecticide for LEPs. You compare that with the Bollgard 2 cotton, and statistically they actually yield the same. Statistically, there's a numerical increase, which, you know, that's probably just varietal differences, but statistically they yielded the same. Your Wide Strike's down a little bit more, which is generally the case, and when you have high LEP pressure, Wide Strike cotton tends to not do as well as Bollgard 2 cotton does, but it does do better than the non-BT, of course. So that kind of leads into the next part, and this is some of the stuff that we're looking at this year. Looking at overspraying that Wide Strike cotton with a foliar insecticide and seeing what kind of benefit we get out of that. Here you can see the unsprayed Wide Strike. This is 375, 5 days and 375. It was sprayed one time this past year at Dr. Lorenz's location. That one application, or that unsprayed plot, yielded around, you know, again, it's close to the same as it was a while ago. You know, it's around 820 pounds of lint per acre. You make an application of Prevathon and tank mix with a pyrethroid, that boosts you up to around 1,050, somewhere a little over 1,000 pounds of lint per acre. That's a low rate. That's a tank mix with a pyrethroid from Prevathon, and that's going to boost your yields. I mean, that's that's just a good practice. It may not be something that's actually, that's why we're doing more research on it right now. May not be something that's real practical to do at this point, but that's why we're looking more into it. We're conducting that research here. Gus is doing it in Pine Bluff. It's being replicated all throughout the Mid-South, in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Tennessee. And then, you know, different sprays of different products over the top of that dual gene Wide Strike cotton. So that kind of leads into another point. Well, what if we overspray? What if we compare that Wide Strike overspray with overspraying the Bollgard 2 cotton, and compare that with overspraying the non-BT cotton? What kind of benefits are we going to get out of that? What is that going to do for us? And that's a lot of the research that we're looking at, that I've got down on the other end of the station that we're doing this year. And it's real similar to this. We're going to have sprayed and unsprayed plots of Bollgard 2 cottons, Wide Strike cottons, and non-BT cottons. And really, the only thing I want to point out about this is just to look. These are the tan bars are your unsprayed plots, and the green ones are your sprayed plots. You can see an obvious yield increase. So pretty much what that suggests, what that kind of implicates is yeah, overspraying even dual gene beet Bollgard 2 cotton, overspraying it with an insecticide, a foliar insecticide, is going to boost your yield. And pretty much what that's getting at is the cotton, the Bollgard genes, the BT genes are not killing all of the leps in the cotton. And we know that. That's not anything new. That's happened when Bollgard cotton, a few years after Bollgard cotton came out, we started picking worms up in it. A few years after Bollgard 2 cotton came out, we started picking worms up in that. That's not anything new. That's nothing that we don't know. But this overspraying is it's just a new thought. It's just a new idea. I talked with a consultant the other day. We had a trial out around Pickens. Had a heavy egg lay in a Bollgard 2 cotton. And he called me, and you know, he asked if I could spray something over our plots for the eggs that were out there, the bollworm eggs that were out there. And I said, well, why do you think I need to spray those eggs that are in that cotton? He said, well, they're going to hatch out and eat that cotton. I said, in that Bollgard 2 cotton? We said, well, yeah. I said, well, don't you think we maybe need to let that Bollgard 2 cotton do its job and let that technology work? He said, well, yeah, but it's real heavy egg lay. And I said, I understand that, but don't you think we paid for that technology, don't you think we need to let it work? So there's a lot of questions about overspraying it, and this data is certainly not to say, yeah, we need to overspray cotton. Look how much yield increase we got from overspraying Bollgard 2 cotton. Or look how much yield increase we got from overspraying wide strike. These are abnormally high lep pressure situations. And in those cases, yeah, we are getting a yield bump. Now that's not going to happen everywhere you go. That's not going to be the case. In fact, there's a lot of cases that are still applicable that you can just grow non-BT cotton, and it's going to do really good. There's several non-BT varieties that are around, available. There's some of the best cotton that's going to yield higher than anything in a low pressure pest situation. So it's not to say, like I say, it's not to say, yeah, we definitely need to be looking at overspraying this dual gene cotton. It's just something to consider when we're in abnormally high, even moderately high lep pressure situations. So that's some of the stuff that we'll be looking at again this year on the station here, and it's going to kind of give us an idea. Typically, we don't have as high lep pressure here. Our lep pressure on the station here is really usually not as high, especially not as high as it is in Pine Bluff at Dr. Lorenzo's location. But here on the station, we do get pretty good numbers of plant bugs, and that kind of leads into the next part I want to talk about. This year, I know last year was a really heavy plant bug year in a lot of our cotton, and this year we have a new product available to a lot of producers, Transform. And Transform is a new insecticide, and it's done really good in a lot of our trials. And one thing I want to say, and I want to get the point across, is Transform is not going to be a miracle solution. It's not going to be the cure-all. You can spray Transform and you're cured for the rest of the season. That's not the way it works. It's another insecticide that we can add to the rotation, and it should be implemented in the rotation. I think it's a good insecticide. All of our trials have shown good results. But this is some of the stuff that we did last year, and this is high pressure situations. This is 5 row feet. We're averaging over 20 plant bug nymphs on 5 row feet. That's way over threshold. Okay. The first application, this cotton received 2 applications of these same products over the same plots. We got 2 different rates of Transform, the 1.5 and the 2 1/4 ounce rates of Transform. And you look here, this is the first application, and at 4 days after, it knocked it down to around, both of them to around 6, but then at 7 days after, the population started building up again. This is one of the things that we've seen with Transform is after that first application, sometimes the populations will, if they're really high, as they are in this situation, if the populations are extremely high, they can build back up in those plots again. When we made that second application, though, all the way to 11 days after the second application was made, Transform held below threshold. Threshold is three nymphs on, or three plant bugs on 5 row feet. The untreated plots still were holding way above threshold, but we made that second application of both of the rates of Transform, and they knocked it down and held it down out to 11 days after the application. Now, in high pressure situations, there's not many products that are going to do that. Like I say, this is not a cure-all. This is not a fix, but it's a good product to have to throw into the mix. Now, I mean, also, you know, we got Bidrin down here that's doing the same thing. We've got a lot of good products. We just got to use them correctly. And one thing I'm afraid that with this new product available, and you know, the high praise that it's been getting in a lot of places, is I'm afraid that a lot of people are going to throw it out and expect a miracle, and that's not what we're going to get. If you use it correctly, you'll get good control. Just like anything else. Well, not anything else, but just like most of our other products that are available. And that kind of, I don't know, that's one thing I want to talk about. Another thing, and this is some more research that we're doing this year. This is being replicated throughout the Mid-South here in Arkansas, in Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee. This is some research that's being done by the Mid-South Entomologist Working Group. It's a project looking at adjuvants and their effects on helping control we're looking at plant bugs, they're looking at spider mites, thrips, aphids, looking at pretty much everything. But we're conducting this trial again, actually right in this field, just up the turner a little ways. But it's looking at adding all kinds of different adjuvants. In this trial last year, we used Bidrin as our insecticide, 8 ounces of Bidrin. We added all these different insecticides, and the only thing I really want to point out about this is 4 days after the second application, and one of the best treatments in there was Bidrin by itself. Now, again, I'm not saying that that's what you should do. You should only spray Bidrin. You should never use an adjuvant. This is just some of the research that we've got, and we've seen it in just about every trial that's been looked at across the Mid-South. Is right now adjuvants with plant bugs, and at least in Bidrin in this case, we're not seeing a whole lot of benefit, but we're looking back into that again. Let's say we're reinvestigating this, and we're duplicating that trial again this year, and it'll be conducted, you know, in Mississippi, Louisiana, and Tennessee, and it'll be repped all throughout the Mid-South, and we can compile all that data and have a better data set to look at.